For lesson 5, we'll be talking about percents, and we'll begin by just discussing where you've actually heard that term percent. So some places that I would think of would be maybe at the store, any grades you get, and there's a lot of other places where you might hear percents in your daily life. What does it sound like? What other words does it sound like? Well, when you hear percent, per means to divide, and cent should make you think of money, like 100. 100 cents makes $1. So it's divide by 100 is what percent means, okay? A percent is a part to whole ratio where the whole is always 100. So percents are always out of 100. That's basically what you want to remember is this right here. Percent means out of 100. Okay? So now if we want to model this, we can just shade it in. So this is 10 by 10. So if we want to shade in 50, we just need to do 5 of these columns or 5 of the rows. And you can get that all shaded in. And it should also look like half because 50% is half of 100%. So 50 out of 100 means 50%. 50 out of 100. So the part is 50, the whole is 100. 35, I'm going to do 3 columns. And then I'm going to do 5 extra spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. Okay, and again, that's out of 100. So 35%, 35 out of 100. And then if we just do 10 here, we just shade in 1 column, because that's worth 10. 10%, 10 out of 100. Now we have a model, and we're going to answer questions about it, so sort of like working backwards. So what percent of the squares are shaded? So let's see, we've got 2 rows of 10. So that's going to be 10, 20, and then 5 more, so 25. So you would say 25 out of 100, which is 25%, because it's 25 out of 100. What is the ratio of white squares to total squares? Well, if we know that the shaded ones are 25, and this is supposed to be 100 total squares, we can say 100 for that part. The white squares is just whatever the difference is between the shaded ones and the 100. Or you could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is worth 70. And then 5. So 75 to 100. Okay. How are the percent and the ratio related? So how is 1 and 2 related? Well, they add to 100%, right? Because 75 over 100 would be 75%. And 75 plus 25 would make 100. So basically, something is either shaded or it's not. So the shaded plus the non-shaded have to add up to the whole amount, 100%. All right? We can also write percents as decimals. And so basically, you can write a percent as a decimal or a fraction. Okay, so 70% means 70 out of 100, like we said already. This percent symbol means out of 100. And then if we read this out loud, 70 hundredths, that's just the decimal 70 hundredths. 16% would be 16 out of 100. 16 hundredths would just be 0.16. 28% 28 out of 100. 28 hundredths, 0.28. And lastly, 62% means 62 out of 100, or 62 hundredths, 0.62. Because it's out of 100, we're always going to be in that second decimal place, the hundredths place. Okay, so finishing up this last part here, complete the table with the missing info. So we either use the diagram, the model, or we use the info beneath it to fill it out. So we've got 10, 20, 5 again, so 25 out of 100, 25%. And now 25 hundredths means 0.25. 85% means 85 out of 100, or 0.85, 85 hundredths. Okay, so I have to fill out 85 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 5 more. 85. Okay, and then for the last one over here, it says 40 over 100. So 40 out of 100 is 40%. Anytime out of 100, the top number is the percent. As a decimal, that would be 40 hundredths. It would be the same if you wrote it like this without the 0. So 40%, 40 out of 100, we have to shade in 4 rows of 10 to make 40 total. There it is. All right, last up. At Rosemont Middle School, 55% of the student body purchases their lunch at school. So I'm just going to write over here, 55% buy lunch. What is the ratio, or sorry, write that as a ratio of part to whole. So 55% would just be 55 over 100. If you want it to look more like a ratio notation, you could write 55 to 100. What percent represents the student body who brings their lunch? So what we're saying is either you buy your lunch and you're in this 55%, or you bring your lunch. So you just have those two options. So if the total is 100%, and we know that 55% already are buying lunch, we can subtract to find the difference. So what we would get is 45% bring lunch. Number 6, how are these percents related to the whole? Well, with percents, the whole is always 100. And we could say they add to the whole, which is 100%. Okay? So whenever you're dealing with percents, you always want to see if there's only 2 options, the 2% are going to add to 100. If it's like an either or thing, the percents are going to add up to the whole, which is 100.